All right. All right. Hi, everybody, and good morning. Sorry, for some reason my video wasn't showing up, but I figured it out. It's nice to be on here with you all. I'm so sorry that last week we weren't able to do the Twitch live stream. I'm in my office here on campus, and like I said in the video I made, apparently a rat chewed through a wire in the building and wreaked havoc on the internet all around. But I have it all figured out and ready to go. So good morning. We're back, and that's fantastic. I missed you all last week, but hopefully everyone is doing well. Can you all hear me and see me? Okay, just to make sure you can all hear and see me just fine before I continue talking. If someone could let me know in the chat, that would be fantastic. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Mallory. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Yep. All right. So I hope you all had a really nice long weekend. It kind of feels like it was a long time ago at this point, but hopefully you all had a good weekend. I was in Las Vegas and it was so much fun. My daughter, my 7-year-old, rode her first upside down roller coaster in Circus Circus, and she loved it, like literally laughed the whole time. And I had lots of good food. We saw Blue Man Group. It was a really nice, fun little getaway. So I hope some of you or all of you had a really nice, long, relaxing weekend. We are in week number 7 at this point. We are kind of getting close to the halfway point of the semester. And so I want to do a couple of things today. Like usual, we'll go over some feedback from last week. I want to go over the homework assignment and talk about that a little bit, and then along with the discussion number 6 that you had. And then we'll go through and we'll talk about what we have due this week, along with giving you your extra credit question and seeing if you have any questions for me. So kind of getting back on track. And I hope a lot of you were able to watch the recorded video I made last week. And many of you still did the extra credit, which was fantastic. So we are back on track this week, which makes me happy. And I'm glad to have you all here. So thank you for joining me, getting your names in the chat and all of that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and head over to Canvas. And as always, if you have questions for me, feel free to put them in the chat as we go along. But we, as I mentioned, are in week number 7, right? So 7 weeks into the class, but we had a lot of things due last week, or kind of a couple of things due last week. And I want to go back and talk about them a little bit because there was a little bit of confusion on a few things. And so I think it would be especially helpful to go over that for all of you. So if we go back to last week, right, we were looking at chapter 3, part 2. Let's take a look at discussion number 6 first, and then we can talk about the homework. For the most part, a lot of you are just doing so fantastic, which makes me so happy. You're doing wonderful and answering all the questions I have for you. You're answering them fully and earning full points. So most of you, the vast majority of you, are doing amazing. But I do want to touch on a few things from this discussion. There were 2 different studies, and then you were answering some questions about them. So the first one, study number 1, Dr. Stevens and her research assistants were studying the relationship between the level of people's self-esteem and their income levels. They asked participants in their study to report their annual income and then asked them to take a test that measured their level of self-esteem. Results of the study showed that as annual income increased, self-esteem scores increased as well. So you needed to identify, was this correlational or an experiment? And I think almost every single one of you got this right. This is correlational research. They have not manipulated anything. They're simply measuring what are the connections or associations between esteem and income levels. So if there was no manipulation or deliberately like setting things up, then it's definitely a correlation, and most of you got that. This is a correlational kind of design, and it is a positive relationship, right? As self-esteem goes up, income goes up, or as income goes up, self-esteem goes up. So there was a positive correlation. The 2 of them move in the same direction. And then number 3 tripped up a couple of you, right? So if it's a correlational study, we can never determine cause. So when something is correlated with something else, there's a relationship or an association, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they cause each other. And a lot of you did a beautiful job talking about this, that maybe income causes or increases, I should say, self-esteem. Or maybe it's that self-esteem increases income. or maybe it's something altogether different, right? Like there's some third variable involved. Anytime we're talking about a correlational study, we cannot infer cause. So for study one, number 3, the answer would be no. We cannot determine that income causes an increase in self-esteem. For study number 2, researchers randomly assigned participants to ingest kombucha and others to ingest a placebo, water flavored to taste similar to kombucha and in a kombucha bottle, but without the key ingredients of kombucha. The participants, as well as the research assistants, were unaware of who received the kombucha and who received the placebo. After participants in both groups ingested their assigned beverages, researchers read to all of the participants of the study at the same time a list of 10 letters. On average, the kombucha group recalled 10 letters, while on average the placebo group recalled only 5. So right off the bat, researchers randomly assigned, right? They're randomly assigning them. They're deliberately manipulating these variables rather than just measuring them. So yes, this is an experiment. And most of you got that. That's perfect. This is an experiment. We are deliberately setting up and manipulating it. Because it's an experiment, we have independent and dependent variables. The independent variable is the kombucha. Whether or not they got kombucha or the placebo would be the levels of that independent variable. And then the dependent variable would be the list of letters, right? Which is being measured by how many letters that people could recall from that list of 10. Can we determine cause? Yes, right? This is an experiment that we've deliberately manipulated and set up. So we can determine cause. We might say that maybe the cause isn't 100%, but we can definitely infer a little bit of cause as a result of deliberately setting up an experiment. So as I said, most of you did beautifully. The one that gave people the most trouble was number 3 up here. But remember, anytime it's just a correlational study, we cannot determine any kind of cause. So before I move on, are there any questions, comments, or thoughts or anything related to the discussion? Again, most of you did quite well, but that was the biggest thing that I saw. So I think it's important to go over that. And I also want to make sure to remind you to always reply to a classmate to get those 2 points. Most of you are doing that, but just to remind you one more time. So I'll wait just a second to see if there are any other questions or thoughts or comments or anything about the discussion. Otherwise, we'll talk about the homework assignment. A couple of things I want to go over with that one as well. I'm not seeing anything yet, but if you think of something, of course, feel free to put it in the chat, and I will happily come back and answer that for you. Otherwise, let's go to the homework assignment that was due last week. And again, so many of you got the full 25 points, and a lot of you only missed a couple of points if you did miss anything. But so nicely done overall, and it makes me happy to see that so many of you are grasping the materials and everything's kind of clicking for you. So with this assignment, you were in charge of answering 5 questions. The first one was looking at 3 different types of the different validities that each one of these doctors is addressing. And you'll see a question very similar to this on the next exam. And most of you got this, or were very, very close. Dr. Lopez was studying external validity. You know, how well does this generalize to other people? Is this only true for my students, or does it generalize to other people? Did they randomly sample, right? We're looking at the sample and how generalizable this the research can be. Dr. Shaw was looking at internal validity. How well have we set up the experiment? Did the researchers conduct an experiment or just correlation? How did they define certain things, right? Is it a third variable that might be going on in there, right? So kind of looking at how well did they set up the experiment that they're doing. So that would be internal validity. And then Dr. Jefferson, an increase in growth mindset can mean so many things. How do they operationalize that? How do they define that? That would be construct validity, looking at how we define those constructs and so on. So again, in order, Lopez would be external, Shaw internal, and Jefferson would be construct. And most of you got that or were very, very close. A lot of you also did beautifully on numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5. A little bit of confusion about the levels or like the different conditions of the independent variable. So I want to go through that really quickly. But again, a lot of you really, really nicely done. So for example, number 2, a pharmacologist is testing whether a new anxiety medication, MoodCore, will cause people to gain weight. To test this, she gives 100 people MoodCore for 1 month and 100 people a placebo drug. At the end of the month, she monitors any weight gain by having them weigh in on a scale. So for this one, the independent variable would be MoodCore, right? An anti-anxiety medication named MoodCore. And the different conditions or levels of that independent variable, one level is the 100 people who got MoodCore for a month, and the other level is the 100 people who got the placebo. So think about the levels as the different conditions or the different circumstances that people might have of that independent variable. So the presence of that medication would be the independent variable, and the 2 levels would be either getting MoodCore or the placebo. And then the dependent variable, the thing that we're measuring, is weight gain. And we're measuring that by having them weigh in on a scale. So a few of you struggled with the different levels of the independent variable. Some of you thought that the independent variable was MoodCore and then the dependent variable was the placebo. But the vast majority of you got this right. And for me, again, the question I always ask myself, a little trick, right? If you read this, what is it that they're trying to find out? They want to know what is the effect of MoodCore on weight, right? And so MoodCore is going to be your independent variable and weight your dependent variable. And that little question always seems to help me. And so I'll pass it along in case it helps you as well. With number 3, we're looking at here, the independent variable was the inspirational tape, right? And the levels would be one group listened to an hour-long inspirational tape and the other listened to white noise. Those are the 2 conditions or levels of the independent variable. And then the dependent variable is their mood, which is being measured by a 10-point scale. And again, a few of you just didn't quite specify this out, but a lot of you did get it perfect. Number 4, the independent variable is drinking water before bed, right? So the 2 different conditions that we would have, 25 children were given 2 glasses of water 2 hours before bed, and 25 children were prohibited from liquids within 2 hours of bedtime. So those are the 2 different conditions of the independent variable. And then we are looking for whether or not the children wet the bed each night, which was being measured by parents reporting that data. The last one, number 5. Number 5, the independent variable is environmental temperature, right? So we have a couple of different conditions, right? So we have 7 people in a 70-degree room, some in a 90-degree room, and some in a 40-degree room. So 3 different levels or conditions of the independent variable. And then we are measuring how that affects their reaction time, which is measured by how quickly they press a button. Okay, so again, with each one of these, you were identifying not only the independent variable, but also its levels or conditions, so the different things that groups would be exposed to, and then the dependent variable and how it was being measured. Overall, as I said, really, really nicely done. We're definitely in kind of the heart of our materials here, a little bit trickier, but a lot of you did a beautiful job and really did a great job identifying those components. So before I move on from last week, any other questions or things that you are confused about from the homework or the research discussion that you had? Anything that I can answer for you before we move on to talk about week number 7? I'll wait just a moment just to see. I'm going to give you just a second just to make sure that you're caught up. And again, if you think of a question later, you can always put it in the chat. That's totally fine, but I want to make sure that I check in with you before moving on. So this week, we are in week number 7, and we are looking at chapter 5. So you're going to want to read chapter 5 in the textbook first. Again, that would be my recommendation, though it's up to you. Then you'll want to read through the lecture for chapter 5. So if we open this up here, the first page is always the learning objectives and the summary, like always, so you can read through this. We're looking a lot at the idea of construct validity, different types of evidence to support construct validity, different scales, reliability and how it's measured, validity and how it's measured, and so on. So we're kind of building on the knowledge that we gained last week. There's a little bit here on the Beyond the Book page, a little bit more on operationalizing and definitions of variables, a little bit more on validity and different types of validity and reliability. And then on the last page, as always, here are the key terms that you need to know for the test. So when we get to the exam next week, these are the terms that you would need to know from chapter 5. So if you wanted to start preparing a little bit in advance, you could be studying these and reviewing this week in order to get that head start for next week. The other thing, of course, you'll want to do is watch the lecture video. So as always, I have a little lecture video for you that I recorded. I was able to post it on YouTube because there aren't any videos in it. So you'll want to watch this and take notes, follow along. The materials in here will definitely appear on the exam. I'm kind of giving you an overview of these good elements of measurement, ways to measure variables and reliability and validity and so on. So make sure you watch that and take notes. That will be very helpful for you for the test and just in covering the materials for the week. You also have a discussion as usual. This is kind of like a typical week of reading the chapter, doing the lectures, and then the discussion. So discussion number 7. As always, you'll want to watch the little introductions video. Make sure that you are watching that you're reading through everything, responding to my questions, and then also responding to a classmate to get those 2 points. This week we're looking a lot at chapter 5, right? We're looking at how do we identify good measurement. And so what you'll look at here are operational definitions and different types of measures. So number 1, one of the topics in chapter 5 involves creating operational definitions and 3 different types of measures that we could use. Describe how you could operationalize coffee intake using each one of the 3 types of measures below. So how could you operationalize that using a self-report measure, an observational measure, and then also a physiological measure? After that, you're going to go to one of these different sites. Just in case one of them didn't work, I gave you 2 options. And you're going to take the little ice cream poll or survey. And once you've completed that, you'll answer a couple of questions about it. As a side note, my favorite ice cream is mint chip ice cream, followed closely by cookie dough, or maybe what else are like Rocky Road ice cream. I like ice cream, period. But you'll take the ice cream test and then answer the following. Number 2, what flavor of ice cream did you get? What do the results say about you? You can totally copy and paste the image or description. That's completely fine if you want to share that for what it says about your personality. Number 3, do you think that this quiz is reliable? I want you to explain and comment related to the bullets below. What kind of reliability would be relevant for this measure? How could you empirically establish that the quiz's reliability? And describe one method you could use to quantify the reliability for this quiz. So these are all things that are definitely connected to the materials in this week. So be really important that you've read and gone through that first. And then number 4, do you think that the quiz is valid? How would you establish the criterion validity of this quiz? So you're really reflecting on these couple of things, right? How can we operationalize from these 3 different types of measures? And then taking the ice cream quiz and talking about the reliability and validity of that ice cream quiz and the different bullets that I have here to kind of guide you in thinking about it. All right, so if there are any questions about this or issues with this, of course, feel free to put that in the chat, but hopefully that's pretty straightforward. Always fun to be thinking about ice cream, even at 10 in the morning. It's never too early for ice cream, at least for me anyway, and it's never too cold for ice cream either. So those are kind of all your normal, typical things. And then I do have the extra credit question to give you here in a moment. But while I'm waiting to see if any of you have any questions, let me give you a few reminders. The first one, and I didn't meet with you last week, so I didn't have a chance to talk about this, but if you could please double check your subscription status. Quite a few of you have fallen off. A lot of you in my classes have fallen off. So if you could just take a minute to double check that and renew it if you no longer have the football cake next to your name. So just looking at the chat, Mallory, you don't have it. Kendall, Nicole, let's see, Samantha, you also have lost it. So if you look in the chat and you only have that on there, so as I said, Samantha, Nicole, Kendall, and I think that's it for the ones that I'm seeing, and Mallory. If you have a chance to go back onto Twitch And then on that purple drop-down menu, resubscribe with your free subscription for the next 30 days. Just if all of you could double check that sometime today or even right now, I would appreciate it. I'm having to look more and more people up, and it takes a lot of time. So thank you for taking the moment to go ahead and take care of that. I really do appreciate it. The other reminder is that our next Twitch live stream will be on, let's see, next week as we go into March. Can you believe that it's March next week? That's so hard to believe. So our next Twitch live stream will be next week on Thursday, which is 3/3 at 10 o'clock in the morning, like usual. So our next Twitch live stream will be next Thursday morning, March 3rd at 10 o'clock a.m. Let me give you the Twitch extra credit question for this week, kind of building on the things that we are talking about. Let me copy and paste this here into the chat for you. So our Twitch extra credit for the week, and then I'll come back. Kendall, I see you have a question. Let me go back. But your Twitch extra credit, what are the 3 types of reliability? List and define all 3 of them. So what are the 3 types of reliability that we talked about this week? And then I'd like you to list and define all 3. So when you're ready to do that, you'll head over to Canvas. And since we are in week number 7, you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 7 right here. Up at the top, you can click start assignment like usual. And then when the text box comes up, you can type your response. And once you've filled that in with the 3 different types of reliability and you've defined them, then you can hit submit, get your confetti burst, and just confetti today, nothing in the confetti. But this is due by Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. So make sure that you do this, especially if you're here with me right now. You want to get those 2 points of extra credit. They're going to add up and really help you and take some pressure off maybe an exam or a missed discussion and so on. So make sure that you do that before the end of the week if you would like to get those points. So those are the big things for this week. Again, the chapter 5 in the book, the lecture, the lecture video that I made, the discussion, the optional extra credit, and then there's a couple of questions in the chat here. So let me address those. Kendall, you said when I went to resubscribe, it wouldn't let me resubscribe with Prime. There was no option for some reason. So let me see if I can show you that again on my end. So I can't show you on my channel, I don't believe. And my friends, I'm not sure that they're really streaming much anymore, but let me go to their channels so I can see if I can show you. So if you were on one of the channels, so I'm showing you on somebody else's because again, I can't show you on mine. There's this little purple bar over here on the right that says resubscribe for free. I'm not sure if you can see that on your end. I'm trying to see if it shows up here on this. But there's a little purple bar underneath the image. And if you click on the down arrow, it's going to bring up this little drop-down menu. And so all the way down at the bottom of this menu here, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, see how it says right here, use Prime Sub? And so this is your chance to resubscribe for free. And again, please don't ever pay for this. If it's not free for you, then just don't worry about it. I don't want you paying money for this. So if you're looking at the Twitch page, it's over to the right a little bit. For some reason, it doesn't show up very well on the screen, depending on the size of your screen. But once you open this little drop down, you would click on Use Prime Sub. And now see how it says subscribe with Prime for free. And that's how you can bring up that free subscription. So it's all the way down at the bottom of that drop down menu. And that allows you to, again, subscribe free with Prime for 30 more days. So it's only good for 30 days, which is why you have to keep renewing it. But it looks like hopefully you can see that on your end. I really hope so. For some reason, I don't get the whole screen for you. So even if I make it smaller, I'm not sure if you can see it. But it's all the way right here underneath on the right. You click on that purple drop down. And then on this little open page here, right here, it's this Use Prime Sub and then subscribe for free with Prime. So I hope that helps. Again, if you're able to do that, it saves me so much time. I really do appreciate it. And if you can't figure it out, do your best. That's all we can do in life is our best. And then somebody said, does anyone want to have a study buddy? I've been having a little trouble with the definitions. Jordan, I'm sure you're not alone. This is we're definitely getting into some of the more challenging materials. And so it's definitely possible if you all want to kind of coordinate studying with each other or meeting with each other. Remember that on our Canvas page, if we go back to our Canvas, way up at the top, right, I did make this little student lounge under the Help and Campus Resources. So the student lounge could be a potential place where all of you can talk to each other. You can just post a question here. So Jordan, like if you wanted to post, hey, does anyone want to study? This could be a place that you all kind of communicate or figure that out, or somebody could send you a private message here on Twitch. But this could be one potential venue that you could use as a way to connect with each other if you didn't want to share your personal information anywhere else. So definitely consider that if that might be helpful for you. It doesn't hurt to study with other people for sure, even though you can use your notes in your book. This is definitely, we're in that challenging section. And so, it might be nice to bounce things off of somebody else. You can all set up your own private Zooms or meet on any other platform that you would like. So I think that's everything that I had for you. Just make sure that you do your reading, that you complete the discussion. Don't forget the Twitch extra credit question if you want to earn those 2 points. And when we're done today, I will start that download process. And sometime later today, you will see the recording of this posted. I will post it right here under optional Twitch extra credit number 7. So that will be up later today in case you missed this or maybe you missed part of it or weren't able to make it live. Otherwise, if there are any questions, I will hang out for the next like 8 to 10 minutes or so. If you have them, I'm happy to answer them. I will be here, sitting here in my office, ready for you if you have them in the chat. If you think of something later, feel free to email me if you don't think of anything right now. Otherwise, I hope you all have a fantastic week. Stay warm. It's still cool today, though it's going to warm up a little bit as we get into the weekend and next week. But take care of yourselves. Hang in there. And if you have any questions, please feel free to take advantage of this time and put them in the chat. I am here. Otherwise, I will hope to see you all next Thursday morning at 10 o'clock for our week number 8 live stream. I'll go over exam number 2. So if you have any questions about the study guide next week, that would be a wonderful time to ask me. So I think that's everything. Again, thank you so much for all of you being on here with me. I really enjoy your company. So thank you so much for being here. And I will hope to see you next Thursday morning. I'm going to minimize the video, but if you have questions, I am still here. And I hope you all, again, have a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend. Thank you. You too, Mallory. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend. I wish I could go up to the snow. We were driving home from Vegas. There was so much snow up in the mountains. I don't know if anyone is heading up there this weekend, but I sure do wish I could. It looks like so much fun. I can't go on another vacation though. I just went on one. I shouldn't be greedy, right? So tempting to want to be greedy, but I definitely should wait just a little bit. And I am still here if any of you think of anything. I am just sitting here hanging out, so please feel free to take advantage of that if you do think of any questions that you would like to ask. All right, everyone. It looks like I am now the only one on here. There might be one or two of you on here, but if you think of any questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, I'm going to close this up so I can start the download and upload and post this video for all of you. But if you think of anything, reach out, please. I am here, and I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week.